100K level seal breaking. And how does one break ceiling of what's possible in the world? And I've been pondering about how to do it intentionally when it is no longer about survival and it's no longer about hustle culture of you have to do this and there is no other way and this kind of thing, right? So I wanted to talk about today about how I have been breaking ceiling every step of the way. And also, I wanted to make it more conceptual and structured in case this is also helpful for you in your journey of breaking ceilings, whatever the ceiling that you feel you have, and talk about what that actually looks like. Why do we have those ceilings, or why did we even put those ceilings? And then how do we actually break it on purpose, right? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Humanitarian Millionaires. And this is a podcast channel where I talk about my $1 million impact and how I'm going about doing it without hustle, without drama, without proving anything, without worthiness issues. So, therefore, I want to talk today about my way of breaking ceilings every time that I bump into one of them. So before I start, maybe it's important to establish what that ceiling even looks like. And maybe for some of you, you may not even recognize that you might be having that ceiling, and you may not even recognize that you could do something with it, but you just don't believe that you can do something with it, right? Because a lot of humanitarian clients that I coach, they talk about how they can't do XYZ, and then they just leave it at that, or they keep worrying a lot about how this is not possible and end up reinforcing the ceiling rather than breaking it, right? So that's why my goal today is to talk about how are the ways that you might be reinforcing ceiling, how are the ways that I have been doing that, and then how are the ways to break those ceilings. So, ceiling is essentially whatever you believe is not possible in your growth, right? So, if you think in terms of a job, then you would say, okay, I can get a country director level job, and then that would be it. And that would be your ceiling, right? You are believing that this is the level you can go up to, and then you can't go beyond. If it is in terms of money, your ceiling might be like a lot of my humanitarian clients where they believe that 2K a month they can do on their own if they leave their job, that's their ceiling, right? Or if they believe that they can replicate their salary that they used to have back in the humanitarian sector, and if they can do that somewhere else, then that would be their ceiling. So then I was thinking about how we usually break those ceilings, maybe without even thinking about or without being intentional about, so that you start understanding for yourself how you might have been already doing it without really being conscious of it, right? So if I give you an example from my own life, that when I was about to apply for a scholarship with the German government and Open Society Institute back in the day, I had no other examples of people who were doing it at the master's level, right? There was, I think, one person doing it for summer school to learn German, but I didn't know anyone, not only in my circle, but in the city, in the environment that I was in, that anyone doing this, getting this scholarship. So therefore, the ceiling at that point was that it's impossible to get that scholarship, and if it was, everyone else would be getting it, right? But I had such a drive to learn the languages, to learn about refugee law, that I didn't even care what was going on around me. And that drive to learn and drive to be so curious and drive to excel at something that I really wanted to excel at, that also scarcity of not staying in the environment that I wanted, that I was in, that catapulted me to break that, whatever that ceiling was, right? So in other words, I ignored all of the around surroundings of what was possible and I went for it. And the same goes for when I replicated my UN Peace 3 salary outside of the UN, where the ceiling was at the time. I think this was now a few years back. The ceiling was that no one can replicate UN P salary. It doesn't matter what P it is, whether it's P2, P3, P4, P5, or D salaries. And then I didn't know anyone who was doing it or who was at least publicly talking about it. And then I was, at least from what I know, to be the first one to break that ceiling, because I thought, okay, if I can figure out the fear and the trust, then I can do whatever I want to, right? And that's what got me to breaking that ceiling. So, what I observe humanitarians do, however, especially when transitioning and especially in times of crisis, that they tend to reinforce the ceiling instead of breaking it, right? And the way that you might be reinforcing and the way that I was also at some point reinforcing ceiling was something like how this is not possible, how in times of crisis I better get to doing the things that I've always done, or how all the $1 million level impact is no longer possible because everyone is in crisis. There are a lot of wars going on. People are not spending money on coaching or growth or whatever. And that's how I would keep reinforcing the ceiling by saying, I agree with what society is telling me, or I agree with what the crises in the world are telling me. Therefore, I should be careful and just keep going and doing the things that I've always done. And that's how I would be reinforcing the ceiling. And the same goes for humanitarians who would say, I have never seen other people replicate their salary. Maybe one person that I heard, like they may refer to me. And other than that, there are no other examples. So therefore, why would I be able to do that, especially when the crisis is so at peak, right? So this is how you keep reinforcing your ceiling. And ceiling is essentially your fear's way of showing up as a protection mechanism, right? Your fear is usually used as a protection mechanism to protect you from harm's way. And obviously, your brain believes that going after your boldest dreams is a harm's way. And even though it is not, it doesn't involve lions chasing you or any of the survival things, but still for your brain, it's a lot to handle. Therefore, your brain wants to bring up all the convincing arguments as to how you can do it and how it is safe to keep reinforcing the ceiling instead of breaking it. So here is how I conceptualized looking at how we even have those ceilings and then how do we break them, right? So first, obviously, the reason why we have those ceilings is because we have bought into the society's narrative as to what is possible and what's not possible, right? So if you happen to be in a society or in a group of people or a society of certain professionals who just happen to believe that you can never make this amount of money or you can never go to this level of growth. You should be careful. You should stay tight, and all of this. Then obviously you are likely to be influenced by that society or by the news or by how many wars are going on, by how economic crisis is happening. All of this you will allow your brain to be influenced by it, and therefore your brain will come up with a lot of reasons for why you cannot break that ceiling. or things that haven't been done before, or things that you haven't done before, then obviously your brain will come up with justifications and convincing arguments as to why and how you can't do that, right? The second is the ceiling happens when you keep listening to people you respect or people that you value, whose opinion you value. And this was also true for me, that I used to believe or hear a lot of senior officials, especially when I was starting my UN career. I would listen to their opinions about how, in order for me to get to D1 level in terms of responsibility, impact, and the money, I would need to work, I don't know, 20 years and then maybe I will get it, right? And that's probably true for many hierarchical systems in the world. But I have also learned that if I went and did that level of impact on my own, and I am interested in impact that is not institution based, but rather experience based of what is working and how it is working. And if I can help as many thousands of people as possible in getting to their dreams of what's possible, then I can create that level of impact at D level in the money and all of this without even relying on the institution. And that's what I have been doing so far, right? So therefore, you can see that the ceiling may come oftentimes from people that you really respect and you share a lot in common, and they may tell you from their experience of what's possible, except that if you are not wanting in the same way growth, or if you are uh, not wanting to do it in such a prolonged time period or not within the institution, then probably you keep listening to them and buying their story might not be getting you where you want to, right? So therefore, that's another ceiling that you need to notice. That ceiling will be installed or even coming from all the people who have great intentions for you, and they're not lying or they're not harming you in the intentional way. They're just telling their own experience of what's possible based on what they know. And here is my truth of listening to those people that I respect and also love. I also started looking at, okay, I see that this is their experience, but I would like to create my own experience and how that will go, right? And the third, the biggest ceiling that I feel is the hardest to break, at least for me currently, and I'm working on it, is the ceiling that I came up myself, or ceiling that I always had somehow from subconscious level, maybe from childhood, whatever you call it, that I keep bumping against every time. And those ceilings are usually very challenging to spot, or it's very easy to buy into that story. And the reason why it's easy to buy into that story is because my narrative has always been that way, right? So, in other words, the way that I see myself, the way that I believe what I'm capable of has always been based on the past or based on what I have been observing so far or what I have been believing so far. Therefore, results show that this is a ceiling or this is where you are. And in order to get to the next level, probably it will be very hard to do it. It will take a long time. It will be risky. And all of these arguments will keep coming up. And that's how, if I keep buying into those arguments, then obviously I'm just reinforcing my ceiling, right? So therefore, the way that now I want to talk about how I'm breaking the ceilings of whatever the goal I want to go for, whether it's the impact or the money or results, then this is how I'm going about it. Okay, currently, what I believe to be true in my life is maybe 20K a month, maybe 50K a month. But the goal that I want to pursue and the goal that I want to believe is true in my life is 100K a month level impact. And the way that I know that I'm making 100K a month level impact by obviously people signing work to work with me and getting them the highest results they can ever even imagine, and having the money from that, right? So, in order for me to make the 100K a month level impact and for it to be my truth currently, then I need to be thinking about 100K a month the same way that I would think about 10K a month impact. Because if it is something that is very true and there is nothing extraordinary about it in my inner system, even though in the world it might be extraordinary and I'm proud of it, but inside me it can't no longer be feeling like it's hard thing to do. It is taking a long time to do. It is a risky thing to do, worrying about whether I'm even capable to do. All of those things need to go so that I can feel this is a normal thing that I do now that is part of my truth. And in order to do that, then the way that I was thinking, what are the best ways to break that ceiling that my brain keeps saying, no, 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 you can achieve this level of impact for in a month's time to this level of impact within a month's time, right? So if I go from 20K to 50, from to 20K or from 50K to 100K level impact, then I need to normalize that this is who I am and this is how I'm capable of creating this level of impact and exploring how that's true, showcasing to my own brain that I'm capable and I can do that. So that would be the embodying identity, right? So by embodying my identity of someone who makes the impact at this level, even though I may not believe it, or even though I may not fully have that feeling of this is very normal to me, but at least embodying that I am that person. I just haven't seen the result and tangible outcome yet, but it doesn't mean that that's not who I am. So embodying my identity of being someone who makes 100K a month level impact. The second is obviously by actioning or by taking some actions, meaning decisions, and doing some work to get there. But the biggest I would say that I am breaking the ceiling is by energy, meaning I keep observing in my inside myself how am I feeling about 100K a month level impact? Am I feeling certain? Am I feeling trusting? Am I feeling grounded energy around making this level of impact? Or am I still in the scarcity of, oh my God, can I do this? Can I not do this? Or who am I kidding? Or what if I'm not cut out for it kind of thing that I talked about in the past, right? So currently, the more I'm observing my energy of what energy I am acting from, what energy I'm spending my days from, what energy I'm really operating from, and the ideal scenario where I break them ceiling is by knowing that it is a ceiling that I have put to myself because I know that I'm no longer influenced by society or by other people's judgments anymore because I worked through a lot of those things thanks to coaching. Now I am really at the place of where I am removing my own ceilings from my own inner system, meaning from my subconscious brain. And the way that I'm doing it is by not only embodying being the person who creates this level of impact, but also, and also, as I said, actioning on it, making decisions, taking actions, but also energetically. Um, I am practicing being in the energy of it is certain. Being in the energy of no matter how much I do or how small things I do, I am this type of person now. And the more I observe my energy level, the more I see that where it is still not true in my system And the way that I know that it's not true is by feeling a bit of this heaviness or feeling a bit of scarcity in this left chest of mine, that I can feel it like constraining or contracting type of feelings. And as soon as I get rid of them, and as soon as I feel into this of, no, 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 this is how things are now. This is who I am now. Excuse me. And this is what I do, just like the way that I would do that with 10K a month back in the day. Then I stay more in the it's done energy. I have it energy. And I like that energy because it feels so abundant and it feels um, so true. And because it feels so true, then actions I take and things I do are also very clear, and I can focus on serving and providing better solutions to my clients. And that's really what I'm looking for, right? So therefore, you can see that I am exploring ways to break any ceiling from the assumption of, okay, no matter how my belief system was formed back when I was a child, even though I had no control over, to nowadays when I have somehow picked up along the way some truth that other people might have told, or I have told to myself at some point, that now I no longer want to accept as truth anymore. And therefore, I'm willing to break whatever ceiling that my brain believes to be true currently to understand and unlock my further potential of who I am as a human and as a coach, and as a humanitarian thought leader. And that's what I really want to explore and experience for myself, right? So therefore, if you would like to break any ceiling that makes you either stuck in a place that you don't want to, or keep making you feel you are not living your full potential, then I would really encourage you to start looking at, okay, what are the societal ceilings that you have adopted and accepted as your truth? What are the truths that, in quotes, right? Truth that you have taken over from other people that you love and respect, and then you just bought into their story of how this is going to happen. And then also look at your own ceilings of what are the ceilings that you keep telling yourself as to what you're capable of or not. And then if you don't want that to be your ceiling, then are you ready to break that ceiling? And most importantly, what are you willing to do to break that ceiling? And I feel what all it takes is coaching your brain on why your mindset is constraining you and embodying being the person who creates that type of results and then taking actions from that. So if you need my help on this, please come coach with me. In the meantime, have a beautiful weekend.